So today we are going to learn about cloth materials, fiber to fabric, which is a chapter of science chemistry. So let us see the introduction. The materials which we use for clothing is called fabric. Fabrics is made up of very loose threads called yarns. Yarns are made up of very thin strands called fibers. Fibers can be described as strands of something. They are raw material from which fiber is made. So basically, uh, fabric is the material which we use for clothing. Like if we wear something, it is called a clothing. Fabric is made up of thin loose threads called yarns, and yarns are made up of fibers. Let's move to the next slide. The next slide says about fibers. There are two types of fibers: the natural fibers and man-made fibers. Natural fibers, there are two types of natural fibers: fibers of animal origin and fibers of plant origin. For example, jute, coir, cotton, linen. These are plant fibers, fibers of plant origin, and silk, wool. These are fibers of animal origin. Natural fibers are those which are found in nature. Man-made fibers are made by man. They are also called synthetic fibers. For example, nylon, rayon, polyester, and acrylic. They are prepared from petrochemicals. Petrochemicals are derived from the petroleum or natural gas. Let's move to the next slide. Our next slide says about wool. So wool yielding animals are those who bear wool, those who have hair from which wool is derived. So let us see the breeds of sheep and goat, camel, yak, llama, alpaca, angora rabbit. Some breeds of goat like angora, kashmir, mohair provide wool. So these are the breeds and animals which provide wool. So breeds of sheep that provide wool in different regions and quality of wool is that. So Rampur Basair is brown fleece. It is a quality of wool, and it is distribution is Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh. They are found there. Nali, which is carpet wool, Rajasthan and Haryana. Lohi, good quality wool, Rajasthan and Punjab. Actually, Haryana is written in small letter as it is proper noun. It should be written in capital letter. Next, move to the next slide. Our next slide says about involved the steps involved in the process of obtaining hair and turning it into wool fibers and fabrics. So some important terms here are sorting. Separation of different types of sheep's hair having different textures is called sorting. Then reeling, the process of making yarn from fabric is called reeling. Burrs, the small fluffy fibers are called burrs. Occupational hazard, a disease which is related to a occupation or a disease which can be caused due to some occupation. We will learn about this. The hazard experienced at workplace. Now let's move to the next slide. So our next slide says about process of obtaining wool fibers and fabrics. So the steps are involved in here are shearing, scouring, sorting, carding, dyeing, spinning, weaving. So shearing is basically the removal of hair from sheep's